Hey everybody, welcome into the Delmarva Sports Insider, the only live and local show dedicated to giving you all local sports. I'm Brandon Bossert.
And I'm Julian Sador.
That's right, and Trey is off enjoying time with the fam this week, but the greatest show in America keeps rolling on. Welcome in on another episode of DSI. And we have had a lot of news dropping all week long, Julian. It feels almost like March all over again when all the news was coming in about the cancellations.
Yeah, one after another, but hopefully we'll have some good news in some time. Who knows?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. We'll start here. A lot has happened in a week's time, and let's begin at the high school level. With about a month remaining before fall sports were supposed to start practicing here on Delmarva, Virginia has made their decision to at least postpone their seasons.
That's right. Now there's still a chance that we can see football in Accomack County this school year, but the Virginia High School League is looking into adopting one of three proposals for high school sports, none of which includes football in the fall. And under the first plan, sports schedules would remain intact, but that would mean that high contact sports like field hockey, football, cheer, and volleyball would have their seasons canceled.
Now, under the second plan, spring and fall sports would be flipped, with high contact sports in the spring like football and lacrosse, and tennis, soccer, baseball, and softball in the fall. Now, under the third proposal, all sports would see a condensed season, with winter sports beginning in mid-December, fall sports starting up in mid-February, and then spring sports getting started in mid-April. The VHSL won't vote on a final plan until July 27th.
Now, it'll be very interesting to see what they decide on later this month, but that decision out of Virginia was followed up by a few local collegiate conferences deciding to sideline fall sports as well. Delaware State's football season is now officially suspended. The MEAC announcing it has suspended all fall sports indefinitely due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, but they did leave the door open for the potential that fall schedules would be moved to the spring of 2021.
That's right. The league will continue to discuss the potential of playing football and other sports in the spring. The MEAC plans to proceed with winter and spring sports as of now, unless health and medical professionals advise otherwise, and that's kind of been the par for the course for most places. Is they're going to wait and see. Nobody really knows right now, so winter sports hopeful, fall sports still up in the air.
That seems to be the safe play right now because we really don't know what it's going to look like a month from now, and it gives you time to figure out what's going on in the spring.
Exactly.
We move on to the CAA. Another big announcement that came in today, the Colonial Athletic Association, which includes the University of Delaware, has suspended its football season, and as a result, UD has now postponed all of their fall sports, and Delaware says they will continue to monitor their winter sports and will make a decision on those seasons at a later date. Seems to be a theme going on here.
Exactly. Now, meanwhile, this is an interesting one. Wesley College is making it clear that as of now, they are moving forward with their fall season as scheduled. But the problem is that the teams on their schedule, they have already had their seasons canceled
right.
or postponed. So Wesley's football games with schools like Delaware Valley, Endicott, and TCNJ have already been canceled, leaving them with just 7 of their original 10 games remaining. Now, cancellations have also affected sports like volleyball, field hockey, and men's and women's soccer. And right now, they're planning for it, but we'll see what happens with everything, right?
I mean, we already have seen some of these schools drop out, and if Wesley wants to keep going and try and do a football schedule during the fall, I mean, all power to them. But
right. But they have to have people to play.
They have to have people to play, that's right. But we're going to bring it back to the high school ranks now with some programs like Bennett High. They began conditioning sessions this week. And MPSSA has said that they are still hopeful to get fall practices going in time for August 12th, and some local teams are preparing as if they will play a full season this fall.
Well, you have to be prepared just in case it does happen. But
that's right.
How are teams handling the uncertainty surrounding football right now, especially when you're a first-year head coach? Well, Dustin Mills replaces Hoot Gibson at Bennett, and we talked with him for our insider interview.
We're probably going to do some things a little bit differently than some other coaches do. I'm a big fan in staying up to date on the most modern, research and techniques and things like that, especially in the realm of strength and conditioning. Football coaches, kind of by reputation, are loath to change. I kind of view things from the opposite perspective. Okay, what can we do to change? What can we do to become better at what we do? What can we do to become better as coaches? What can we do as coaches to help make our players better? So at the end of the day, my coaching style is going to be what's best for our players and what's best for our team. Urban Meyer works with an organization, but they have an equation, E plus R equals O, events plus response equal outcomes. And of those three things, the only thing we can control is our response. Okay, we can't control if there's a nationwide pandemic going on. We can't really control the decisions our elected officials are making or our school officials are making. But we know we want a positive outcome. So what can we do? We can control our response. I was talking to some parents last week, and I said, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I know we start conditioning on Monday. And that's all I can worry about. You don't worry about what the future is going to hold. And that plays in perfectly during kind of this time. We don't know what's going to happen. Controlling our response allows us just to focus on that. Focus on the process, right? If our season gets moved to the spring, well, that just gives us more time to become better football players, become better coaches and things like that. We'd be halfway through our summer training. We like to peak our guys right before the season starts. So we'd be right on kind of the upper level of our rep scheme and our weight scheme. And we'd really begin after in the weight room. We'd be pushing the envelope a little bit more with the sprint work and things like that, and the speed work. And then from an X's and O's perspective, we'd be engaged in those 7-on-7 competitions. We'd be looking at those, taking a look at those reps and saying, hey, what can we do better here? And all those things. What we're doing now is we're now on our second day of summer training. It's almost a throwback to the late 90s when you showed up the first day of football practice and you just got after it. We kind of came into the whole situation realizing a lot of them probably haven't done much. And you know what? We can see that. But, with what we're doing with our strength and conditioning, we're certainly trying to phase them back in, right? The kind of way we approach training is it's kind of a pyramid. You want to phase up, come back down, and kind of, go like that. It's hard to stay up here. So we'd be foolish if they came back day one and said, all right, we're going to go run a bunch of wind sprints. They're trying to update us every Tuesday with what's going on. I didn't actually read any statements from yesterday, but what I saw, they're still planning on that August 12th date. Now, a lot of that said, we are still waiting and seeing. A lot of that depends on what the local school systems decide to do. I know there's been several counties in Maryland. Prince George has, I believe, stated they're not going to go back to in-person education until January or February. I know Montgomery County has said not until November. Fortunately, we're in a much better situation than they are with the infection numbers and things like that. Just at least get them back into the aspect of working out, because, there's a physical aspect to us, but there's also a mental health aspect towards getting young people doing things. I can certainly, I'm not young anymore, but it was getting tough some days sitting around and, wondering what's going to happen next, what's going to happen next. So, I started going back to the gym. So giving them the opportunity to at least come out and do something physical, be within 6 feet of their friends and teammates has, been helpful for their mental health. So I think that's a huge part of athletics that's kind of not talked about as much.
Now, Julian, Dustin had some great points there, I feel like, including the mental health aspect of getting back on the field and being with their teammates. I don't think that can be underestimated, really. No,
I agree with you. We've seen it right now with a lot of kids going out and playing the summer league baseball. They're getting back there and they're seeing their friends after they spent months in quarantine, and it's done a lot for them in terms of emotionally being able to be more stable, seeing other kids like them. You need that human-to-human interaction, and so if this season is canceled, you have to wonder how these players, especially seniors who are banking on this season to get a scholarship maybe, you have to wonder how that's going to affect them.
That's right. E plus R equals O. Events plus response equals outcome. I absolutely love that. That is a great mindset for a football coach. So Dustin Mills has the mindset that they will continue to work as if they are going to have a season, but one coach in the Bayside North, along with its leadership, is pumping the brakes.
That's right. Cambridge South Dorchester is not holding summer workouts, and head coach Gaven Parker says his focus right now is not holding a traditional season, but making sure his kids get to experience some sort of season during this pandemic.
Will there be any fall sports?
That's the question on everyone's mind.
So we need to be very cautious. We need to be very safe. We don't need to rush back into it.
MPSSA has left decisions on whether to hold conditioning sessions up to the counties, which Cambridge coach Gaven Parker says can create some tension.
Nothing from MPSSA yet. Again, obviously, they're just going to wait until, more counties have made a decision before they kind of step in and kind of give any directive. it puts some programs in some school districts in a real bind because you don't want to be behind everyone else. But at the same time, you're taking a huge risk liability-wise if an outbreak does happen within your program and that catches on, that's all she wrote.
Dorchester County Public Schools Acting Superintendent Dave Bromwell fielded questions about athletics from the community this week. Bromwell questions the logistics of holding a season this fall.
There's questions of if you can even afford it economically. A high school football team, using Cambridge South as an example, they'd need 4 to 5 buses just to go to Salisbury. If we kept our social distancing piece in place, you tend to wonder, is this going to happen?
And then the superintendent went on to talk about the benefits of moving fall sports over to spring.
It gives them time to plan this out and really see how's COVID-19 going to act when we get into the fall.
And discussions of whether or not to hold sports in the fall may be a moot point altogether for the county.
They just released our draft plan, in phase 2, which would be us returning with an A-week, B-week schedule with half the students coming. Extracurricular activities aren't going to go.
But Coach Parker stresses he wants his student athletes to get some sort of athletic experience this school year.
My hope is that, the MPSSA and the MSDE can come together and try to make, smart decisions to create some experiences for the student athletes, who unfortunately are going through this, in a very sensitive time in their life.
That's right. So at this point, Cambridge South Dorchester, who just went all the way to the 1A semifinals, not holding any team activities at the moment. So, Julian, we've heard from 2 different perspectives on this issue.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Here's where I stand, Brandon. I feel like nobody really knows what's going on, and it's understandable why they have frustration. I mean, you've been talking to the coaches. It seems like everybody's in a holding pattern, and it seems the longer we wait in Maryland to get a decision, the more frustrated coaches are getting.
Right.
Is that what you're getting from them?
That's what I felt like talking with Gaven, not so much talking with Dustin. I feel like it depends upon the coach and the program. Certain programs are ready to go and are ready to hold these conditioning sessions. Others are saying, it's not the same. You go out there and you're kind of just running around like Gaven told me. So there's not really much point, I was told, in having some of these athletes out there and putting them at risk, especially if you don't know if you're going to have a traditional season in the fall. But the one thing that Gaven stressed that I think is most important here is trying to have some sort of experience for the student athletes this year. I mean, if we're not going to have a fall season, let's at least try and think outside the box here and figure out what can we do for these athletes, because we don't want to repeat where we have fall athletes not having a season at all. But Virginia has, 2 plans where you could see football during the spring,
right,
either with condensed seasons or with moving seasons around.
Right, and one thing that really hasn't been touched on yet that much is what the colleges are going to do in terms of recruiting. You have to send scouts out. You have to have them do visits to colleges.
Right.
So if you move this to the spring, are the scouts going to have time to make offers? Are kids going to have time to make decisions on where they want to go? Could we even talk about possibly redshirting kids in high school so that they can come back and have a full football season? I mean, there are some kids who are literally going to school with the goal of going D1, D2, and having that pay for their way to get an education.
True. Redshirting for high school, that's pretty outside the box right there, but these are student athletes. They go to school to learn, first of all, and then have the athletics as the as the extracurricular activity. So I got to pump the brakes on that a little bit, but it is a downer for a lot of athletes who do have the dreams of going to a Division I, Division II, D3, whatever it is, school, of playing and not being able to have those scouts look at them. You got to feel for all of those kids, and like we're talking about, we want to have some sort of way that these scouts can see them. I don't know how the scouts are going to do it. That's a ripple effect that we don't really know about. All we're trying to do is just figure out a way that these athletes can actually get back out in the field.
Exactly.
But that'll do it for the A block. We're taking a commercial break, but when we return, we're going out to the Diamond, Wicomico Blue Sox and OC Marlins swinging for the fences when we return.
This is Mike Reddish for Bennett Football. You're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.